Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Philly Blunt. My name's Johnny Goodtimes.
I'm Reef.
Yo, this is Greg.
And
I'm
Hey, Rachel.
Sorry.
We are excited. She's excited to be here.
Yes.
Even more so. Rachel Sensenig, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
What's going on? You run Circle of Hope, and you are a pastor in South Philly. Is that right?
Correct. Yep.
And obviously, the things that have been happening over the last couple weeks have had I would suspect, a pretty big impact both on your retail establishment and also on just religion in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty intense. I mean, definitely it was a bummer to shut down Circle Thrift and our other businesses, but I think our church kind of is, I hate to say we're like made for this, but because it's such a tragedy all over the world, but we kind of are, because the church is like the people, not the building. And so we meet in small groups throughout the week already that are kind of like the heart of our movement. So we're still going strong, and probably even more, doing more in this time together to connect and pray for each other, provide relief where we can.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what it is that Circle of Hope does?
Sure. I mean, we're a basic Christian church, like into the teachings of Jesus. We share resources with each other. We have weekly meetings on Sundays in the evening, though, so we can sleep in the morning. And we have these meetings throughout the week in smaller groups that we call cells. And they're small groups that are kind of, they grow organically like cells of a body. And they multiply as people get connected and included. But we're kind of like sharing life together and discovering that we're connected to God through Jesus, and that makes a real difference in how we love and form community and make relationships.
Where are you all headquartered here in Philly? Is that the whole?
Yeah, we are 4 congregations right now. One is in Jersey, though. So we have 3 in Philly, 1 in South Philly, 1 in Frankfurt, and 1 in the Northwest in Germantown.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, I was going to ask. And so with everything that's going on in a situation like this, you've seen an increase and a strengthening in faith and not a kind of confusion towards it?
Yeah, definitely. I think like even we never did online Sunday meetings before, but they were more well attended than our regular meetings. I mean, I think there's just, whether it's like people can finally sit on their couch and, that's easier, or I think it's more like there's kind of a spiritual hunger. People are realizing, hey, we need to pay attention to each other. We need God. And also a recognition that we have that. We are connected to God, and we want to express that in a bigger way.
You guys do it on Instagram, Facebook Live, or live stream? How do you do your services?
We're doing it. We have a YouTube channel that we're doing the Sunday meetings on, but cells are meeting on Zoom like this, Google Meet, Google Hang throughout the week.
How did we'll obviously be talking more about kind of how you guys are dealing with, this unique environment that we're in, but I'm curious too, what was the impetus to start the thrift store? How did that come about?
Oh, cool. Yeah. We wanted to share our resources around the world in a bigger way, like especially to places that are, in real need of relief. And so we had this idea that, most of us have more stuff than we need. And if we can make a little money that way and give it to people who are doing relief and development work around the world, we want to do that. So we're able to send quite, after paying our overhead and our staff a living wage, we're able to send quite a bit of money around the world, and also like in Philly to places that need help.
Yeah. And while it's closed, in place of that, what are some initiatives and things that you guys are doing on the ground to help the people out?
We have over 20 compassion teams right now that are doing things in schools, like putting libraries in. Some of our compassion teams do like urban farming, where we used to be able to like take over abandoned lots and just plant things, but now we've actually worked with some city initiatives to like get the land bank going, so that not all of those abandoned lots are sucked up by developers anymore, but we can kind of claim them for neighborhoods to make gardens and things. Oh man, we have a counseling center that has a couple different locations where we're like into quality therapy.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting the other ones right now.
No, it's all good. Yeah.
So you started, you got a degree in sociology and philosophy. You got a master's in social work. Was that all in preparation for going into work with the church, or did that come about later?
That's a great question. No, this work with the church was a pretty big surprise. I was like, I got my master's in social work, and I was working in that field for like 12 years in the HIV community. Loved it. Worked with great people. But at the same time, my life was changed. I was going through this transformation myself and feeling called to plant the church. Like we were part of Circle of Hope, and I was seeing things happen in people's lives and forming community. People really able to like work together to make change in a bigger way than I was able to even do in social work, because of the boundaries and the constraints that they need to put on those systems. So I eventually made the switch because my Circle of Hope was kind of calling me into it. God was calling me, and they were saying like, "Hey, Rachel, you need to like take yourself seriously and consider being a pastor." But that was kind of crazy for me, because I grew up in a church where there were never women leaders. My family, Reef and I were talking about Italian. My family is 100% Italian, so it's very like traditional roles for men and women, and I was kind of okay with that. And so this was like shaking my world a little bit to think about being a pastor, but I finally just had to say yes and trust God that He would help me do it.
Yeah. I've always wondered, what are the steps to becoming a pastor? Like, do you have to like take classes, study, like read the Bible? Like, I don't know, like what's the can you just be like, yeah, I'm a pastor now?
Well, the internet lets people do all kinds of things now, but
yeah, I could marry someone if I read a course for like an hour, I could go marry a bunch of people.
Right. I think it's most legit if you're really grounded in an actual community of people that are kind of affirming that calling. I personally think that's more powerful than going to school for it. For, you know, I'm hugely into education and I have a master's degree, but I think and seminary is great. And I've been able to study a little bit along the way, but I kind of think like doing it is, if you feel called to it, doing it is the best teacher. So I read the Bible a lot. I love the Bible, but I don't have a seminary degree yet. I think
Is it necessary in your opinion? Like, yeah.
I don't think so. I think, like look at Jesus's 12 disciples. Look at the first apostles and the early church. They didn't have seminary wasn't even invented, and they were changing the world. Okay. So I think we're trying to get back into that and empower people, just regular people, to do extraordinary things.
Was there a moment where you specifically felt called, or was it kind of a buildup of a number of things?
It was like my own kind of conversion was a process, but it was kind of an intense time in my 20s where I was kind of like, even though I had been raised in the church, I kind of was just falling flat on my face, trying to live a good life. Like it wasn't really working out. I realized I really can't do this like on my like own good efforts. And so I was kind of like seeking God on a deeper level out of my own struggle. And that's when I heard about Circle of Hope, and it became just kind of a safe place to like work out my stuff and be surrounded by good people for a while. And then it was years down the road that I felt this call to pastor.
You have like a pastor mentor, someone who like kind of guides you along the way into it?
Yeah, that's a really good point, Greg. My pastor at the time, who started Circle of Hope, Rod White, he's been a really good mentor to me, and he was kind of putting the bug in my ear gently that I should take myself seriously. So I'm grateful for that. And he's still around as our development pastor, still coming up with new ideas, but he's definitely like taken a back seat, which, I rarely see white men especially do that kind of like giving up of power kind of move. But I think that's so Jesus, and he has really done that to empower younger people to the movement.
What are your thoughts on the ideology or the belief that and this is something that I hold, is that, I believe in a higher power, but I don't subscribe to any religion. I experienced, being Baptist with my mom when I was a kid, to studying Islam with my cousins when I was a teenager, to now being at a point where I do believe in God. I do believe that, there's forces at work, but I don't attach myself to any religion. Does that make me less, you know what I mean? Like, I always wonder people that are in that world, because I've met some people that have been very judgmental about that. So where do you stand with that?
Yeah,
it's like, it's their way, or you're a sinner, you're a heathen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't think that's very helpful at all. I think it's really understandable to be kind of like a spiritual person, but not religious, like connected to any one particular like institution or faith, because of all the all that kind of crap that has gone on. And, you know, I hate to say it, but even in the history of the Christian church, like all the terrible things that have been done in the name of God are just like horrendous. So I get it, you know, just kind of hanging out in the like, God, you know, God is real, but I'm not sure where to go from there. I think everybody's journey, I think everybody's journey is their own, and God will reveal God's self to people who are seeking. And Jesus said that all the time anyway. Like if you seek me with all your heart, you'll find me. And so that's kind of how I roll. And I think that works way better. That's way truer than like any kind of like dogma or condemnation, especially.
Right.
What does a week look like for you? Like what's the course of your week when, you know, divided between working with the congregation or doing things where you're trying to raise money or you know, the thrift store, the whole thing? What's it look like for you?
Well, it starts with a lot of conversation with my teammates. I'm lucky enough to be like on a pastor team with the 3 other pastors of our congregation. So we talk a lot and kind of plan the week together. But then it's not just taking care of the people we have, but it's kind of looking for the next person, looking to that outer edge of people that we want to connect to and who's looking for us. I really try to make time in the week for that, to hang out with new people, even though I could easily fill up my time with the people I already know and love. But what we try to do in Circle of Hope is like really empower the cell leaders to pastor their own groups, because I think they're equipped to do that, you know, back to like regular people leading the church.
You all tend to have a really young congregation, it seems like, from the outside. Is that true? And if so, why do you think that is?
I think young people really want to make a difference in the world, and they often have like the capacity to do it, you know, before kids and a mortgage and you know, all that stuff. But we also have some like serious partners who are in their 30s and 40s and even 50s and 60s now, who really are like pillars of the movement.
You know, obviously we're living through a very remarkable time. I mean, this will be, you know, in all of our lifetimes, this is going to be one of the stretches that's most remembered, most talked about historically. How is that impacting, you know, how is that impacting the church?
Oh my gosh, that's Johnny, that's really something really cool is happening in terms of like the church, capital C, coming together across denominational and cultural lines. I see Jesus followers all around the world, like unifying in more tangible ways to serve the most vulnerable, particularly in our city. Like I was on a call on Monday with like 20 other pastors and church leaders, all from like people like that have churches with all kinds of different styles and sizes, that are coming together now saying like, you know, how can we feed people in this time? How can we help, you know, the women and children who are on lockdown in like dangerous situations in their houses now? Like how can we, you know, be the underground foundation of love in this city of brotherly and sisterly love, and the church is doing that. So I'm psyched about that.
So from a PR perspective, I think the church has gone through a rough time, because I think a lot of us of our generation feel very left out, because the church has seemed like, the stuff we get, at least in the news, is from an evangelical side, which seems very backwards and seems very anti everything we kind of stand for. Is that stigma tough to separate yourself from?
Well, I think it hinders a lot of people from even like thinking about going to our website. And, I think, I mean, I'm just going to say it, the fact that like Donald Trump calls himself a Christian and, is how he is really confusing.
Right. And I think a lot of us see it as
he's the best Christian. No one's a better Christian. No one's a better Christian than me.
Don't upset Reed. He's a big Trump fan. He thinks what's your favorite book of the Bible? I love all of them. They're all great.
They're just
books.
great.
How do you? I mean, I think that's the way it's portrayed. In society, it's portrayed as something that basically is the backbone of the Republican Party. And for those of us who are offended by a lot of things they stand for, that's really hard to get past. What would you say to somebody that's in that sort of frame of mind?
Is it logged in as somebody else?
I would try to get to know them and make a relationship and pay attention to them and their world. And then, as we become friends and they kind of let me in on that stuff, I would guide them to the actual teachings of Jesus that we'd already be like doing as we relate. But like the teachings of Jesus are like, love your enemy, care about the poor, love your neighbor, share your resources. They're definitely way different from a lot of what we've, seen at the government.
Is that frustrating for you? That's because I feel like that's the way, the church is presented, on a national scale, when you're not in the heart of it. I mean, let's be honest. I think the church has a bit of a PR problem, and
yes, huge.
Yeah, and like, is that frustrating for you, and is that frustrating for the people that you interact with, who I'm sure are not that way?
Yeah, it is frustrating for me, and I have to trust God to show us a way through that every day and connect. Send us the people that are looking. Connect with the. Jesus talks about those who have ears to hear. Find those people. But I agree. I do grieve that all the time, Johnny. It's like, I think there's so many people who are spiritually hungry, who are just kind of kept outside of faith because of these wacky images of it that we get.
Right.
So there's the famous quote that the most segregated hour in America is high noon on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like Circle, you guys have kind of made it a mission to diversify and be open to that. Was that a conscious decision, or was that something that's kind of happened naturally? Because it's one of the places that I've seen very few churches. It's either the black church or the white church, if we're keeping it real. You guys have a very nice mix of different cultures, and even gay brothers and sisters. I've seen the whole gamut. How are you guys able to bring all those people in together?
Well, we pray on it and we work at it. It's I don't think we have arrived yet by any means, but we care about it because I think God cares about it. I think there are, there are groups of people who have been oppressed and unjustly, and we all have a seat at the table with Jesus. And so we work at that consciously, and I think we still have a lot of work to do, but we're gonna die trying.
So I come from a Catholic background. It's very strict, rigid, say the same thing every week, various pretty much the same hymns. What's a Sunday doing a circle? What's a tip? Do you have structure like that?
Yeah, Greg, we try to we
the
borrow
kneeling
from
thing always bugged me out. Like the whole you kneel, then you get up, and then you do a shimmy, and then you splash water on your face, and then it's a whole production, man.
Yeah.
It is. I actually like kneeling, and we hardly ever do that. We borrow from lots of different traditions, depending on who our worship leaders or our we call them art directors, who kind of help design the liturgy. We try to take from lots of different traditions, depending on how people are inspired. And there's always music. There's always singing, because I think that we're just kind of made to express ourselves, and singing can help us. There's even my friend was just telling me, when people sing together, their heartbeats actually start lining up. Isn't that wild?
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it.
I mean,
when me and Johnny harmonize.
Yeah. Sometimes but it's around the fire in the barrel, and we're just doo-wopping.
Yeah,
but yeah. No, when I go back to, I grew up Methodist, and went to and I don't go back very often, but every once in a while I've gone back. It's like I'm so not used to singing in unison with people that when I do, I get teared up. When I was a kid, it was just something that you did, but then you get older and you don't really do it anymore. And it's like you and 150, 200 other people are singing along together. That's a pretty powerful thing.
Totally. I think it is really powerful. And it's good to just express ourselves creatively. So yeah, a lot of our people, a lot of the songs we sing are originals. They're written by our people. Somehow we have lots of artists. So that's cool. And there's usually some kind of sermon or message as an element to the meeting. And there's always talk back, which I think is pretty unique. I wish everybody did it, because it sometimes ends up being better than the sermon.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Finish.
The things that people the comments and questions and stories that come after the sermon, that we have this 10-minute time of dialogue right there in the meeting with each other. That's my favorite.
Do you guys have fellowship where there's food?
Yes.
Yeah? Nice. Okay. All right.
Yep.
That was my favorite part of church always, man.
Right.
Always.
Yeah.
That's important.
Around the kitchen. Just 8 years old, just kind of wandering the halls back and forth, waiting for something to come out.
What kind of food are we talking?
What denomination are you guys closest to? I don't really see any information specifically, but what would you say you're similar to?
We're closest to the Anabaptist community, and specifically the Brethren in Christ. But Anabaptists are that family.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, how do you
the word Anabaptist, ANA, and then Baptist, it means rebaptizers, because they were the people in Europe. This is back I think in the 1400s, after the printing press was invented, and people people could finally get the Bible in their own language and they didn't have to just get it from the priest, they started to connect with the person of Jesus in a different way. And they started to then rebel against the Catholic Church. And this is nothing against the Catholic Church, because I love Catholics and I think they have, you know, our church is full of Catholics. They have wonderful traditions. But at that time, it was like the church was like married to statehood and citizenship, you know, and all the money and political power that goes with that. And people started to see a totally different thing in Jesus, and they wanted to not then baptize their children as like a sign of statehood. They wanted to give their kids an opportunity to like make a personal decision. And so they started rebaptizing each other as adults when they came into this like personal relationship with God.
Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, because it feels like it's like a different, you know, it's like, here's everything that you thought you knew, but here's what you can be if you wanted to really be about it. Because it feels like you guys' mission, and, you know, full disclosure, my brother-in-law, Steph's brother, my brother that I love very much, he found a very great path going through you guys. So I'm forever grateful for that. But he hasn't changed. Like, I was worried he's gonna become like some like culty kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just trying to like talk with him about like the game. He's like, yeah, the Eagles will win if Jesus allows it, brother. You know? But
no, he's not like
I've
that.
seen firsthand that, like, you know, it's been very good for him, and I think that makes sense that you guys are about, you know, the rebaptizing, the like looking at it from a different angle almost, you know?
Yeah. Those if you want to imagine too, that more Anabaptist people like Mennonites, Quakers, those are all like traditions in that style. Like, right. and peacemaking is also a big thing there.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. All right, we want to take it to the blunt.
Let's go to the blunt.
All right, here's how it's going to be. We're going to ask you rapid fire questions. You give us rapid fire answers. All right.
This is how we wrap up every show. You ready?
Yeah.
Oh,
you ready? All right. What was your first ever car?
Datsun.
What is the weirdest thing that you have seen come into Circle Thrift? Like, you were like, why does someone think we can sell this?
Drug paraphernalia.
Yeah, right on. My bad.
I want to help out.
I knew that was you, Reese.
I thought, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite apostle?
Yes, John.
You have your own late night talk show. Who would be your first guest?
I'm just going to say Reef because he's right here and he's so fun.
Brunch or dinner?
Brunch.
Water or wine?
Water.
What's your karaoke song?
Here I Go Again on My Own. Is that Whitesnake? Somebody was just talking about Whitesnake.
Damn right it is. I used to hit rewind on that tape so much.
Totally.
Oh, that was my jam.
Best place to eat in South Philadelphia?
Oh my word, that's impossible. There's so many good places.
Give us your favorite.
Los Gallos, right down the street from me.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Right, correct answer. Yes. Ding, ding, ding. If aliens landed on Earth tomorrow and offered to take you back to their planet, would you go?
No way.
Yeah. I feel like now would be a pretty good time to say that.
Yeah. Have you ever been heckled?
Oh, look.
Like you're giving a sermon and someone's just like, that's not right.
Not really. No.
Okay, good.
Have you ever lost your train of thought during a sermon?
Yes.
What's that like?
Oh, it's terrible. Thank goodness I have very gracious people.
What's your favorite style of hoagie?
Italian.
Okay.
Spicy Italian.
All right. And what are you getting? You getting mayonnaise and oil and vinegar, or what are you doing? Everything, the works?
Yeah, the works, mayonnaise, oil and vinegar, long hots.
Nice. Oh, the long
Everything.
hots. There you go.
Do you consider a musical artist as a preacher? Because a lot of guys think that they'll refer to themselves as that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
What advice would you give 18-year-old Rachel?
Don't be afraid to say what you really think.
Nice. Favorite movie?
Oh. You know, I've watched.
All right,
I don't know.
Something recent, something that you've seen recently that you loved.
I just watched Into the Wild again with my kids.
Okay, wow. Yeah.
What are you binge watching during all this? What's your go-to show right now?
I don't have one. I need a new one. But honestly, I've been more busy in this quarantine than ever before.
Yeah. Tiger King is the correct answer.
Very, very.
Would have accepted Tiger King.
Yeah.
All right. I'll check it out.
Tiger King on Netflix. I'm telling you. Have you guys, anybody else seen it?
Yeah,
Steph's watching it right now. She started it without me. I keep looking. I don't know if you guys noticed me get up a couple times. It's 'cause
That's
she's
why
watching
I'm so
Tiger King.
distracted.
Yeah, dude. Get in there. Get in there.
Yeah.
It is the craziest thing I have ever seen.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm telling you. Tiger King.
What's
Crazy.
it about?
I don't know.
about
It looks fucking
all these-
nuts.
All these tiger trainers. There's all these people that run all these tiger zoos around America, and they're all batshit crazy because, of course.
One guy's like a redneck, polyamorous gay tiger trainer. The other guy's a polyamorous, heterosexual tiger trainer. And then there's crazy ladies trying to shut them all down.
Yeah, and she killed her husband.
Kill her husband.
Yeah. Oh, it's
All right.
Oh, it's
Well,
so good. It's
That's
so
a great
good.
way to end the interview with the pastor.
I'm telling you, it is. It's an amazing piece of work. All right, Greg, wrap us up.
You go Celine Dion or Barbara Streisand?
Barbara.
Good answer.
Good answer.
All right, one last one. Favorite dessert?
Just a vanilla buttercream cake.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
that's definitely some Italian shit right there.
What was that?
Totally.
With some coffee after that. You know what I mean?
Right. Espresso.
Little espresso there.
Totally.
Little port?
Totally.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you so much for having me.
All
You
right.
got it. Awesome. Thank you.
Take it easy.
All right. See you guys later.
Peace.